my channel. So today's video, I thought that I would share a couple of things with you in regards to my planning system and just have like a little chit chat and all of that stuff. So let's get straight into today's video. So I have been in this book now since, I want to say not October, I keep wanting to say October, August 19th or 18th, one of those. And I was using the Kate Spades, and honestly I really don't have a need or desire to want to use anything else. I have thought about quite a few other things in regards to what, you know, next year will look like. I've purchased quite a few different types of bullet journals just to keep with, you know, change and just to keep from feeling like, you know, boredom, FOMO, all that stuff. Honestly, I felt really good being in a notebook, and it really worked for me for the last couple of weeks that I've been in it and the last month that I've been in it. So yeah, I've took the liberty though in dissecting and looking back at some of my older bullet journal pictures and videos from my Germany days, and I've, like, if you know, you know, I've went back and looked at some of the spreads that I used to do when I was living in Germany, way before my son was even a thing. And yeah, I kind of took the liberty in doing some of those spreads in here. And what I wanted to talk to mostly all of you about today is my planning system and all that stuff. So if you've been with me for a while, it might look like over time that I might have switched up. Honestly, I never really switched up. The system in itself just got better, and I wanted to kind of share that journey with you and why the things that I've done and what I've been able to do in my own system over the years has been able to be able to transition into multiple different things over time. So let's get into it. So if you're not familiar, this is the Leuchtturm bullet journal collaboration with writer Carol. I like this book. I have actually grown to love this book. It's got some notable dings this time. I know you guys can probably see the paint's chipping right there. It's got some, you know, pages are bent. It's got some wear on it. Not a whole lot of wear, but it's got some wear. There's even some wear on the inside. It's got ripped right there. So yeah, I'm learning to be okay with not babying it, not you know, being too careful with the contents that is in here, because it stressed me out to do that. It stressed me out to have a cover, to think about putting a cover on it, and honestly I just had way more fun without a cover. So I don't have much of this book left. I think, if I'm being honest, I think that I'll be able to get October in here. This is all that I have left in the book. I made it to page 104. I thought I was going to be on page 118. I made it to page 104. This is all that I have left. I'm anticipating that I will probably be on page 120 by the end of next week, and that will close, or yeah, by the end of next week, and that will like do the first, you know, week of October. I assume that I'll be able to get all of October in here, and then after that I'm gonna have to figure out my next bullet journal, and we'll talk about that in today's video. But this has been a great addition. I think honestly I can get 2 full months in here with journaling, tracking, and all that good stuff. I probably can get 3 months. So I would say for me, a 205 or 200 page book would definitely get me like 1/4 of planning. I think that's pretty good, seeing as how, you know, there's flexibility to do whatever. So you can make it 2 months, you can do 3 months, or you can do simple spreads and just make it, you know, last for a whole year or half a year. I don't think I could ever see myself being in this for an entire year, but 6 months I can definitely see. But nonetheless, that's what I got. So I have taken the liberty, like I said, in doing some stuff in the back of the book to basically share with you. And I wanted to kind of flip-flop and bounce between like talking about my system and how it has worked. So, and I'll do some flips. I've started adding things to the back of the book. So I've started journaling more in this book. I just found, I do have the other journal that I shared. I just found that it was a lot easier to journal and plan in the same book. This also helped me stay focused in one book and not get sidetracked and think about other things that I could potentially purchase for the sake of, you know, whatever I wanted to do. So I figure just combining everything definitely helps. I do think that for my more intimate personal journaling, the kind of journaling that I don't necessarily want to share, I think that another book is, you know, okay for that. But for like my everyday, like random stuff, I found it a lot easier to just combine everything into one space. I know some people don't want to look back on plans, but it's always interesting to me to know like what I was doing, what I was thinking, what I was planning for in that era of my life. And then, of course, it's always helpful to go back in time and try to figure out like what worked for you back then and why did it work for you then and will it work for you now. So I took the liberty, like I said, in doing a couple of different spreads, and I'm going to flip through them and go through them. So these particular spreads that I'm sharing, these are from my 2020 bullet journal. I'll try to link that video in the cards, but these spreads are from 2020. These spreads came from an era of my life when I was living in Germany. I was newly married. I did not have a son. I had experienced 2 miscarriages, and I was going through my own, you know, life dilemmas. But I didn't have a whole lot that, you know, really made me feel like these spreads were necessary. Back then they seemed very necessary, but looking back on it now, they didn't feel as necessary because I really wasn't planning for much. I was planning to have a family, but if I think about it, I put a lot of effort into all of those spreads back then because planning was new to me, in the way that it is shared today. You know, I wasn't keen on like trackers and stuff. I was getting into the era of tracking. I didn't really know what that was. So this was that era for me. And so when I started, I had started out doing this simple bullet journal like style, and I would make my to-do list, which if you know, then you know, I did this last year where I would make my to-do list, and then I would have colored markers or highlighters that would signify what each thing was. And so instead of using check marks, I would just highlight all the things that I got done and things that, you know, were important, and you know, it meant something back then. This, I would say, works best with the check marks because oftentimes I would forget what these colors were. But this is a way that I used to do some tracking back then. And then I used to do this sleep tracker, which I totally feel like this is definitely necessary, especially if you want to track your hours of sleep. I don't get a whole lot of sleep, and sometimes I wake up feeling more tired than I felt before I went to bed. So I think this is something that I would definitely incorporate. So these are 2, you know, simple spreads that I've done in the past that I've evaluated and looked over. But the ones that I think are the most important and the ones that I think I might revisit in my current life are these ones here. So these are some spreads that I have done during the time I was having a lot of surgery, and also the time when I had experienced my last miscarriage. So I was tracking a schedule. So the way, let's backtrack. So the way that this is set up, I originally set up a day on 2 pages, which would, at the time I was using a 720 page notebook. So I don't know why I felt the need to want to condense everything when I had so many pages to use. But I was looking at it more along the lines of I had enough to get through the year. I had notes, I had journaling, I had a reference, and everything went into that book. Again, I will try to find the old embarrassing video and link it. But when I look at this, so I auto-filled these with actual tasks from this year. I just picked a day from my bullet journal, my current book, this one, and I dissected the day and put them in the categories. So, you know, I've done some easy spreads that don't require too much drawing, and I think that's where I'm at with planning. Is I want it to be very simple and straight to the point. This was very drawn out and very thought out, and so the way that these 2 days are is you have your to-do list. So this is your to-do list. Then you have your top task, and then I had a little space for notes. This allowed me to brain dump. Okay, backtrack. This section allowed me to brain dump a list of tasks, and I think the reason why I did this is because I didn't want to have a overly excessive to-do list. Like a prime example of that would be where is a day that has, okay, so like this is Monday. Is it Monday? Okay, so this is Monday, right? Monday starts out with a small to-do list. Then I have this schedule here, right? Then that to-do list picks up here on this page. And so I have this to-do list, and you might be getting my son, and then it falls into Tuesday. I specifically did this where I would brain dump a bunch of tasks for the sake of keeping everything pretty simple and not overwhelming myself. And then from this, I would take the most important things that I wanted to get done, not top 3. So at the time, I wasn't really grasping that I just need to pick 3 solid things that I want to get done for my day and then just do those things. I was still complicating it in some way, shape, or form. I was taking what I felt like was important from here and putting it here and then doing it. And I think the intent, as I look back on it now, is that I wanted to take a little bit from here and then put it here. Then when those things were done, I would take a couple more things, take it, put it here. So in all actuality, I would get those things done from this list, but I just kept moving them over. A lot of times I was copying from this list and then copying from here and putting it here. It didn't make any sense. But when I broke down an actual day from this year, these 2 lists are actually really different. Now I have things that I actually would need to get done, and it's not just a general to-do list item. It's like a must-do type of thing. So I think revisiting these tasks, or these not tasks, but these spreads in my current today life, they definitely show meaning. And I think it's important that you keep some of those journals and go back in time and look at them and analyze how the system worked for you then and what could you take away. Because honestly, I'm pretty comfortable with what I'm doing now, which is just weather, dinner, the date, putting like a top 3. I recently just started doing this where I just have like 3 things that I want to get done and I leave it at that, and then I just have this running list. But the thing with this running list is that sometimes this extends to another page, and so we've got to stop overextending the things that we want to do in a day, because what I end up getting is a lot of arrows or X's. A lot of the stuff is like repetitive stuff, just stuff that I'm used to doing every day, like pulling the trash or running the dishwasher or something like that. But then there are things on here that are not every day, and so you end up getting these arrows or X's where I just didn't have time to fulfill the task. So I went back in time and copied these layouts because I thought that it would be pretty cool to basically revisit some of these layouts with today's current task and see like how it would work for me today versus how it worked for me then. I also tried out another, and I'll go back to the other pages, but I also tried out the other layout that I used to do, which was 4 quads, and then I would have a space for a schedule, which I could, you know, put the schedule at any time. I just chose 5 to 7. Then you have a to-do list, you have a place for notes, and then you have a tomorrow. So if anything that didn't get done from this day, or if you have notes or any particular thing that you want to follow up for the next day, if you don't do your next day page right away, I usually sit down and do my next day page the night of or the night before the day, and if I don't, then I usually get up and I do it in the morning sometime, but most of the time it's right before bed. But if the case is ever where you don't have that luxury to do it right before bed, then you can have those, you know, follow-up notes. So when you do your tomorrow's day spread, if you're planning day by day and not, you know, auto filling everything out at the set of the week or the start of the week, then this little space, I would say, definitely helps. So yeah, I've been kind of revisiting some of these spreads, and again, I did those quads here. Only difference is instead of 4 sections, we have 3. So we have a longer schedule where I've allowed myself to have half hours. So this would give me a full schedule. Then I have a to-do list, and then I have a note space. This one I did the same layout, just different. So instead of having a full schedule here, you have your top 3. Then you have your full schedule with half hours, and then you have your to-do list, and then your notes. So these are some of the spreads that I've taken from previous bullet journals that I've done, and I just kind of copied them. I basically went back on my Instagram page, found pictures of my old photos of my bullet journals from back in 2020, and then I took pictures of them and copied all the spreads that I had done in the past just to kind of test them out. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you all, like how this system is working for me today. So today, and we'll do a little flip. I think we did a flip already, but if we didn't, this is this current week. I've got to update today, but for the most part, what going back and looking at some of those spreads really did for me is I basically wanted to share that the system in itself did not change. It just got more refined. So when I'm looking back into how I used to do these spreads from, you know, that era of my life, I've kind of refined it a lot more. So everything has a place now, and it's not scattered. It's not, you know, too complicated. It's simple, but it's there and it's more condensed. So the weekly spreads now have the top 3 from Monday through Friday. I don't care about Saturday and Sunday having a top 3 because usually I'm not really following a schedule on Saturday and Sunday. I do feel like Saturday and Sunday need to have their own space, but because I kind of do like a bullet journal type thing where Saturday and Sunday have their own day pages, in the weekly spread, it works out pretty well with sharing a box because if I need to elaborate on these days, they have their own day pages. So, but for the top 3, instead of doing what I was doing here, and I think that this still would work even with the layout that I have now, with, you know, having your top 3 here. I don't think that I have to draw it out like this and really make it look like this. This looks very, it looks readable. You can read it, you can understand where all the sections are, but this just looks better in terms of, okay, every day has top 3, and then, you know, you can have your important stuff at the top, or scheduled type stuff at the top, and then miscellaneous at the bottom, versus, you know, you having like a space like this where it's scheduled. I think this is good for daily, but then my actual daily pages, I feel, have gotten better in terms of capturing like events and times, because I could condense my schedule this way and still have my to-do list and still have my top 3. So I didn't have to draw out anything. It's still pretty readable. So this week I had tried out a vertical weekly, and actually put I haven't been using this, but I actually decided to put my habit tracker here and my goal thing here, because I wanted to, well, this spread didn't really allow for much, you know, in terms of like tracking space. I guess I could have put it in there, but I didn't really do all of that for the sake of giving each box the equal amount of space. So I just decided to use my habit tracker stickies, and that worked out for me. So I highly recommend using something like this where you can just move around, and that really works. And then in terms of like these daily pages, so this week I decided that I wanted to journal a lot more. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, so I did that. I kept it simple for the most part with a piece of washi and just, you know, color pens. This was the only day that I actually put vellum over the actual journaling spread and did something fancy, but it stayed pretty simple. Each day had a day on 2 pages. This allowed me to have the to-do list, the notes, and then, you know, the little bit of journaling that I wanted to do for each day. I think Thursday and Friday are the only days that have shared space, because I didn't completely fill a whole page for Thursday, or a whole 2 pages for Thursday, and I didn't want to start Friday on another page with all this space here, so I just, you know, kept up with it. And then I did capture some September memories. And then I went into Saturday with my to-do, some notes, some journaling. And then here we are today with my to-do list that I'll have to update, and then some journaling. And then I'll do like a little cover page for October here, and then go into October's setup. So all together, if I had to think about it, September was a pretty dope month. I've tried out quite a few different spreads. This was all the pages that I used for September, so it took the bulk of the book. I think that if I would have taken the start of October, I keep wanting to say October, August, and put the entire month of August in here, I think I would have had equal amount of pages. But then again, I didn't use as many pages in August for each day as I did for September. I've really come to allow myself to just use the book when I want to use the book. Something I want to write down, just write it down. Something I want to journal about, just journal about it. Stop preserving pages, stop babying pages, stop trying to save pages for the sake of wanting to use the book. The purpose of the bullet journal for me, I want to say, in terms of just helping with FOMO, is to basically force myself to be comfortable enough that we can get out of this habit of trying to save it to use it later. It's a book. It's got 205 pages, which allows you to do whatever. And then to top that off, I bought a crap ton of books to take the place of this when it's done. So I'm no longer trying to justify the sake of having 2 books. Like, I get that there are systems out there that people like to have two book systems for work and personal life or whatever the case may be. But for me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. You may be hearing my son getting yelled at. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My system has never really fully changed. It's still based off of primarily a to-do list that just identifies the most important things to me throughout the month or throughout the day. So like I'm still identifying what my top 3 things are. And I owe Plum Paper Planner a lot of credit for helping in that part of my life, because I didn't really fully grasp the top 3 until I started using that system. But it translated so well to a regular pen to paper type of system, blank paper, blank notebook. It translated very well. It kind of helped me understand what it was that I really desired. I have to laugh at my son. It really helped me figure out what it was that I desired to have in my system. My system for me is just solid. It's solid. I know what I want. I most of the time, primarily all the time, need a weekly overview. I need to see that weekly overview. That's kind of important for me. I know that my days just need to be simple. I have tried out quite a few different dailies, and I've tested out quite a few different dailies, and ultimately what it comes down to is I just want a date. Not necessarily a date that is like a planner that's dated. Not necessarily that, but I just want to put the date, and I want to write my to-do list how I want to write my to-do list, and I want to use the margins and, you know, the bits and pieces of the page to write random notes. And, you know, that really works for me. And some days I get in those moods where I want to have a day on 2 pages. Some days I get in those modes where I'm just like, I don't need a day on 2 pages. I want a day on 1 page, or I want a half a page for a day. And I think for me, the notebook system has really shown me that this is where I thrive. This is where, you know, my creativity flows. And I've been loving it for this month alone. I've done quite a few different spreads. I think this was the first week. It wasn't the first week I did September, but it was the first official like getting into the groove. So if we backtrack, you know, I was using these stickies that I got from Stology. I have enough to do another month, but I was doing this, and you know, I was figuring out how I wanted these to lay. Like, as I've been doing bullet journal for a while, I've done just about everything that I think fits into my own system. My system is very simple. It's very straightforward. It's neat. It's definitely neat. And to some, it may be very aesthetic. To me, it's legible. I can read it. That's what I care about. I mean, in my opinion, it's as messy as I want it to be messy. It's not messy at all, but I think that it's very legible and it's readable, and that's what I want. I want it to be readable. I want it to be something that I didn't put too much work in, but I cared enough to make it, you know, neat and readable, because at the end of the day, it's something that I will go back to and I will look at. I can honestly say that I've looked at every bullet journal that I have used, and I've taken away some lesson from that book. I have books that I have decked out with stickers and all kinds of creativity, and then I have books where I've done spreads like this, where, you know, they're more intricate and more refined in terms of sections and how I want the sections to look and what the section details are. Yeah, so I think doing that, I think going back in time and really looking at some of this stuff really just solidified that the system that I have never really changed. It definitely got more refined by 100%. It's now more to the point of everything has a place without the lines of distinction. I know what I want. I know what I need. I can tweak each day and take away from each day without having really to do too much to the spread itself. This pre-drawn out spread, when it's pre-drawn out like this, it just makes me go into a mode of being boxed in. Like, it takes me back to, if I could do this and follow this, then I should just go into a dated planner, because there's planners that have this sort of layout. If I was to do this again, this I think is better for me because there's open space. You can do whatever. But yeah, going back and doing that definitely just has showed me a lot. I'm showing you pictures and pages from this month so far, and I think, and then of course I just showed you this week. But I think, like I said, there is a lot of, stuff here that really has a lot of lessons in them. And I'm pretty sure that in another bullet journal, I will probably revisit this bullet journal and go back and look at some of the spreads and things that I've done to tweak. And again, my system will always continue to be worked on and continue to be tweaked, because it's a system that keeps revolving. But I basically did this back here to give you guys some ideas, like how simple the bullet journal can be, how simple these spreads can be, and they don't have to be artistic at all. They don't have to be cover pages for every month. You can do something simple like putting washi tape down on the sides and just making cute little borders, taping in pictures, because ultimately it's your planner. We keep pictures in our planner. Why can't we do that in our bullet journals? Keep pictures in our bullet journals of our family, and make it personal, because obviously, stuff like this, I use these pictures and stamps and stuff. Like, yeah, it makes more sense to me. But I wanted to share this with you. It was more of a collective thought, and like a little chat, if anything, about my bullet journal. I think when this one is done, I will probably use one of the newer ones, not the Tomoe River notebooks, because I don't have a guide for that, just because of the, like, where I'm at. But I'm kind of thinking about this one next. This one is the Vivid Scribbles. It has the 200 and this one has the 200 pages of 160 GSM. This one's thicker than the Leuchtturm. It's thicker, it's taller, it's a linen cover. The elastic band is tighter than the Leuchtturm. It has a pen loop, which I really like. So I'm thinking about this one. This one is, one that I really, really am leaning more towards. Like, I just like the way that it feels in a hand. I like the elastic band. I like the way that this looks. So I think that when I'm done with the Leuchtturm, this will probably be my next bullet journal. I don't know yet though. And then the one that I didn't get a chance to share with you guys last time, was because I didn't have it yet, was this one that I found on Amazon. It's from T. Fossey. This one has 256 dot grid pages with 160 GSM, as you see there. It's the astrology. Their astrology, it has 2 ribbon bookmarks instead of the 3. I really like the 3. Like, if I go back, I like the 3 bookmarks, because now that I'm using a bullet journal pretty heavily, I like to have that, I like to have one string on the monthly overview or yearly overview. So, like, I like to reference this page. These are where the high level events and things are usually written, because I can see them on a wider you know, wider space, or a wider, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys know what I'm talking about, but I can see them all together like this collectively. And then I like to have one ribbon bookmark on the actual month that I'm on. This just helps me get to that month a lot quicker, because I did put all the months up front. And then I like to have one ribbon bookmark on the actual day that I'm on. So now I'm getting into the feel of what I actually want when it comes to my bullet journal, and I'm understanding the use a lot better of these bookmarks, because they weren't something that I always used in the past. I know that you can have tabs and things, but I really didn't want to put tabs on here for the sake of, you know, I carry this, I throw this in and out of my bag. I feel like tabs is an extra width on the book, and they would just get ripped up anyway. So I just decided to not do tabs and use the bookmarks, use them what they are intended for. The bookmarks are intended for that, so you don't necessarily need tabs. But this one only has 2 ribbon bookmarks, opposed to this Vivid Scribbles, which has the 3 bookmarks, the pen loop, and the elastic band, like I like. But I like this one too. This one is more comparable to an Archer and Olive. It has the gilded edges, and they have like a little design on them. So I thought this one was really cute. Has the pen loop too. The pen loop on this book though is a lot thinner. And then on the inside, I was like, ooh, I really like the inside of this book, because I really like how it does kind of look like an Archer and Olive. I have not used an Archer and Olive, but I really like the feel that this is like an Archer and Olive. And then it goes straight in, so you have your cover page, and then it goes straight into your dot grid number pages. I want to say that the dot grid on here is a little bit darker than the dot grid on here. I want to say, let's just take a look. Yeah, so the dot grid on the T. Fossey is a lot darker than the one on the Vivid Scribbles, and the paper on the T. Fossey looks a little bit darker too than the bright white on the Vivid Scribbles, which is another reason why I'm thinking maybe the Vivid Scribbles might be my next bullet journal, which would take me out of 2024 and also into, it might take me into 2025, I want to say. It just depends if I use the book the same way that I'm using the Leuchtturm. But I like this one too. I like the gilded edges, and the pages are numbered. If I didn't say that on the last video about the Vivid Scribbles, the pages are numbered. The Vivid Scribbles though has like the index and key page, and then the pen test pages. This one doesn't have that. It just goes straight into your dot grid pages, and they are numbered. And then there is a back pocket back here. I took the liberty in purchasing another one of these, and the pink cover, because I like this purple, but I just wanted to use like a lighter color. But outside of that, I like this one too. Like I said, it's a lay flat design. It's a sewn book. The book is sewn, so I'm looking forward to this. I think that 256 pages is enough pages for me versus the 200 that are given to me in the Leuchtturm. I think my max out is 400. I think 400 pages is well enough for me altogether. But I think 256 just gives me an extra set of pages to do extra little stuff without worrying about running out of space before I hit, you know, like another month or something like that. So like, yeah, here's the specs. It's an A5 dot grid journal. It has an inner pocket. It's 160 GSM and 256 numbered pages. I picked up the thicker GSM because, you know, these cheaper notebooks, these budget-friendly notebooks are not coated. Like, the paper isn't coated. like the one in the Leuchtturm. I think if the paper was coated, it would be top notch, but because it's not coated, I opt to get the thicker GSM for the sake of bleed through. So far, reviews have been pretty good on both of these books. Joshi Corin, I think her name is, on YouTube. She does bullet journal content. She has reviewed the Tifasi book, and that was what prompted me to get this, is because I was looking into Archer and Olive, and I was just like, Archer and Olive doesn't have enough pages. I might as well stick to my Leuchtturm. Their books are nice, but the 196 pages just doesn't sit well with me, and the fact that the A5 is so much more expensive than their smaller books is just ridiculous. But I was able to find two brands virtually similar to the Archer and Olive, and if I obviously couldn't find anything from Amazon, then I was just going to go back to my Leuchtturm, but I was looking for something better than a Leuchtturm. But these are close to it. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got a little bit more inspiration from it. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, loves.